I have another doubleheader regional for you, and yes, that is Kashtira on the move. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. We're going to be starting off with the Ilusion Gaming regional here, and you know, this is pretty meta-filled here. The fact that triple Unchained was your most represented deck is actually kind of common gold at this point. Like, man, it's between that Rescue Ace and some other random deck in the room kind of overcoming the odds. I see that we also had double Vanquish Soul for the top cut of this event, which is also kind of interesting to me. You know, the fact that you've been seeing this huge shift around here in the meta, you know, multiple competitors coming down on that deck and having it perform has been extremely good. We also had Infernoble, not surprised about that. We had Manadium, and then we have the power of Kashtira. Honestly, the reason why I wanted to even look at this regional was Kashtira. With how much of the meta has still been kind of doing its thing, and Kashtira still holding on out here is this rogue metagame challenger with the different evolving builds. It's kind of interesting. Let's pass it over to decklist. Winning our event here is none other than Infernoble and sporting off the Angel's Ring in true fashion because that card is interesting. I see that we are playing the Flamvell counter in the main deck though. Yes, finally! Somebody gets it in terms of the cool ratios and things that you can bring to the table, especially with the Battling Boxer stuff. Not too bad at all. Honestly, though, outside of that, I mean, build feels kind of standard, but that Infernoble stuff is really cheesy. Next up here, we have our Manadium list. Wow, really crushing down the second place here. I do see that we are playing a Monster Reborn. That's a little bit different than what we've been pretty used to seeing out here. The fact that, you know, somebody's kind of bringing on in some of the old reliable here to kind of showcase, hey, you know, having the generic Monster Reborn, though having the card that you could typically search off of the Crimson Dragon play as a Monster Reborn, the Synchro Rumble, is typically something most people play. All right, we do have our first Vanquish Soul list here. I see that we are playing triple copies of There Can Only Be One. Finally, somebody returning back to the good old days out here of actually being able to have the control cards, be able to control the game, and see what more that you want for the meta. I also see that we are playing the Zodiac package again down here on the side deck. You know how many people started cutting the Zodiac package from this deck? I think it's pretty good. Next up here, we have our Kashtira list. Oh boy, we're playing the spell card Blizzard in the main deck. What? That is okay. I see that they were getting very creative out here for these lists. It's playing triple Eradicator, and they also have Nightmare Corruptor Ibly down in the side deck as well. Wow, this deck is really challenging a lot of the norms that the meta has going for it. Next up here is our next Unchained variant. Holy moly, only 2 Imperm in the deck. Okay. I see once again that we have that side deck Sangan. We've been seeing a lot of side deck Sangan down there because it just you toggle into a free hand trap. You know, especially when you can bring it off of the tour guide. Your opponent just kind of stares at you and goes, yeah, well, that's not really fair. And you're just like, well, you know, it gets the job done. That's all you really care about at this point in time is just consistency enablers, and signing a Sangan actually just helps you. Next up here, we have our next Unchained. This is we're playing a super heavy samurai package in here. Today they felt dangerous, it would say. Looks like we're playing 2 big Benki up there. I really like how they did the 2 up to kind of make sure that they could keep the picture aligned. I see that we are playing 1 Rice Heart as well for toggle ability. This is interesting. I don't know if I'm a real big fan of this build per se versus the control build, but okay. Our 7th place here is another Unchained Menace, and wow, I see that we're just maximizing on everything. This is incredibly standard. Though I do miss the Sangan. After I've seen so many Sangan builds at this point in time, I'm starting to wonder if, like, maybe Sangan is the way that you want to go at this point, you know? Like, just the little inclusion of that little card changes so many things. And looking at this list, do you think a Sangan could actually help it? Maybe. And our last list here is another Unchained. Holy moly, so much Unchained out of this regional. Alright, now this maximizing at 42 the way it looks. Triple Imperm in the main. Once again, only one of these builds chose to bring our furry little friend with us to play against the competitors of the meta. Honestly, that's fine. I'll see that we are setting Herald of the Abyss for good old thrust interactions. Yeah, looks pretty standard to me. Let's pass on over to our other regional. The breakdown for this regional tells a little bit different of a story. You know, we're down to 1 Unchained variant versus the 3 that we just saw on the other side of the meta there. Our most represented deck out of this top cut is Chimera. You heard me say that correct. Chimera. Alright, though there is also a pure branded deck that found its way into the top cut as well. Actually, hardly anything with pure branded has been being successful. Most of the builds have warped on into including it typically as a splash package in your Chimera good stuff. And then, of course, you had tier elements, Labyrinth, Infernoble, and for some reason a Flaunderies deck that didn't win a regional found their way in to the top cut of this. To be honest with you, this is a pretty good top cut spread. The fact that you can see all of these different builds kind of coming to fruition does prove that we do have what looks like a very, very strong, diverse meta, and that's what I like to see. Let's pass on over to those deck lists. Winning our event here is none other than our Chimera version of the deck playing Versago the Destroyer. We've been seeing a little bit of Versago kind of doing its thing out here as a cute little tech choice, which is actually, I've enjoyed seeing the different ideas and things that people will bring to the table for the Chimera good stuff. Also, no runic cards. Well, we're back on what is just definitely more spread through control version, and we are playing the Nightmare Magician down there as well. Okay, I see you. I like this. Next up here is our second place list. Wow, Flounder missed the bullet. They were 1 slot off from winning. Man, I do see that we are playing a Singular Dark Ruler no more in the main deck. Okay, I guess we wanted to be a little bit techy today, and that's fine, but like, come on, I feel like we could have dedicated a little bit different of a slot to that, or maybe played 2. We're also only playing 2 books. Interesting for ratios. Next up here we have our tier elements sarcophagus pile. 42 cards is honestly fine. Like, tier can get away with playing the higher ratios because it's going to be milling itself out. And typically if you're dedicating an extra slot or 2 to the deck, it's typically for like a good power card. Alright, like having the little extra sauce in the deck does help out. I still don't understand why people love Malicious in this deck so much, but you know what, free fusions, I guess, if it does come up. Next up here, we have our 4th place Labyrinth list. And we're sporting off triple copies of Skill Drain in this bad boy. Okay, we are playing the triple copies of Pot of Extravagance. I like Extrav in this deck a lot, but like, if you're a budget player trying to play Labyrinth, it's just so not achievable because the fact that you're going to have to buy multiple Chaos Angels just hurts the wallet so much. We're also sporting off 1 Eradicator Epidemic Virus. Gotta love the pressure that card can put on the meta. Alright, next up is our Unchained variant out here. And where's Sangin? Sangin wanted to come play. No Sangin today, unfortunately. But I do think that this deck does make a pretty good showing of what you want to see in the meta. You know, the good old consistency, and as well, like, we got to give it to this deck. You know, being able to pull out the consistent numbers, be able to keep the pressure on the opponent. I'm not surprised at this point. It's done so well. Next up here, we have Infernoble, and I do see that we are playing triple copies of Parallel Exceed. Now, that's not something that you tend to see a lot of in this deck. It's typically, I'd say it's more towards our dear friends out of the Trap Tricks department out here. You tend to see a lot more of those kind of heading towards the display. Let's see here. Outside of that, deck looks pretty normal, I feel like. Next up here, we have our branded package. And yes, we are playing only two crossouts. Interesting. Let's see, we're only playing 2 Ash, 2 Nibiru, 2 Imperm. This duelist really likes the number 2. Like, I don't see anything in the main deck that's a 3 of minus the Brain Infusion and the Fusion deployment. Okay. Interesting. It's little things like that you see in these deck builds that you're just like, what in the world is going on here? And then we have some Chimera Wow, Chimera got first and 8th out of this event. See, we are playing Light Hexsteel Fusion instead of the Versago Destroyer. Feeling a little bit more creative today. That's fine. We have Triple Cross on here to make sure that we can do what we need to do. Triple Super Poly for board breaking. And we're signing some Phantasmes. Yeah, this looks pretty normal at this point. So what do you think about this breakdown for both these events? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.